Guys, and welcome to K9TV episode 2. Tonight's episode's all going to be about one of my favorite topics, which I've called it dating and dogs. So as we wait for some of you to join in, I know Dallas is joining us from Canberra, and thank you for joining in. Dating and dogs, guys, it's a bit of a theory and a philosophy that I've come up with the years that I've been working with dogs. Next week, it will have been 11 years that I've been lucky enough to work full-time with dogs. So that's a bit exciting. But yeah, so with my dating and dogs kind of approach to life, really, it's not just with our dog training. It started off when I just, particularly with my boy Zuka, so he's my 6-year-old Roddy. Just looking at the way that we interact together, and also the way that our customers, relate with their dogs as well. So I really started to look into the nitty gritty of it. Thanks for my little thumbs up. Hi, Diamond. I started to look into the nitty gritty of it, of what are the issues that people are having with their dogs. What is it that actually they inadvertently may be exposing their dogs to, or the situations that they're putting their dogs into that create these areas that cause them stress and things like that. So I started really looking at it from a different perspective. For those of you that know me, I love using analogies to help explain things. So I started writing a book on it, and next thing you know, it's just got a little bit more momentum, and people are really loving the concept behind it. So to get into it, dating and dogs, basically, if you look at the way you start a relationship, so this is a human relationship, we certainly start to set the foundations of what our rules are. So, I am talking monogamous relationships here. You certainly have your rules that you honestly expect. Then there's your deal breakers and things like that. So if we look at it from when we hang out with our dogs. And one of the things that I quite often see is when people start to take their dogs for a walk. They put their lead on their dog, they go to the front door of the gate, the dog's super excited, so focused, it's like they're, using the force, and they're just like, come on, open the door, open the gate, and they're rushing out they go, they're pulling down the street, the owners are having a hard time, it's like their arms are constantly being yanked, desiccated shoulders and all of that type of thing. And when you start to look at it, I'm like, this is crazy. You're setting this base expectation from your dog, and you're almost encouraging it that when you take them out for walks, or potentially at dog parks and all of that type of scenario. In fact, if you were to look at that from a human relationship, you're almost encouraging them to hang out with other people a hell of a lot more than hanging out with you. So I always like to sit there and say, if you're going to take your dog out, first and foremost, there needs to be that little bit of engagement. If your dog's switched onto you and thinks that you're the coolest thing in the world, I refer a lot to your cool factor. If you're the coolest thing in your dog's world, then why are they going to care that there's somebody else across the road? We certainly want our dogs to be social and to be accepting. But it doesn't mean that they need to run over and have what I call an affair with another dog or another person. We certainly want them to be happy to see them, but you should be the coolest thing in their life as well. So I certainly suggest, having a look at the rules that you expect with your relationship with your dog. So a lot of people say, I want my dog to come back when I call them. And I think that's not only responsible, but there's nothing better than that. If you're always taking your dog out and about, and they get to have a reward from everybody else, every other dog, they're having massive amounts of play, pats and cuddles, your cool factor starts to reduce. So in fact, using the dating and dogs type of analogy, you're actually condoning your dog having multiple affairs on a regular basis. And when they come back to you, your dog starts to see you as a bit of a nuisance. You're the one that's the party pooper. You stop them from having fun. If you take your dogs to off-lead dog parks, your dog's out there hanging around with all his mates, running around, rolling around, and all of a sudden you're the one that calls them back. You put them on the lead, you pop them in the car and take them home. They're going to see you as the massive party pooper, and your cool factor is certainly going to drop down as well. So as with your human relationships, if you're hanging out together, you should be, you should really enjoy each other's company and love coming home, love coming home to your partner, to your husband, to your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, etc. So if you take your dog outside of the home, when you call your dog, they should see that as the best opportunity to, come back and get pats, cuddles, rewards, throw the ball. It doesn't matter what it is. So, that's where I start to sit there and lay those foundations. So if you're having difficulty with your dog when you're out and about, maybe have a look at it just from that type of analogy with dating and dogs. What is the expectations that you have? Are you setting up for success? Or if your dog finds, even just as I said before, they stare at that gate or that front door and they're so desperate to get outside, at that point, you could argue that they find the door more exciting and enticing rather than yourself. So you certainly want to, change your cool factor. You don't want your dogs to be, going out and finding those rewards externally from everybody else. So again, look at what it is that you're reinforcing with your dog. If you're always allowing them to run off, say hello to every single person where they get massive amounts of rewards. Again, if that was an intimate relationship with yourself, I would classify that as an affair. So, sit there, raise your cool factor up, make your dog think that you're the coolest thing in the world. He's allowed to have his friends, but coming back to you is always, his number one priority. It's all about love and respect. And again, by you setting these foundations, particularly if you've got a young puppy or if you've just brought a dog into your home, regardless of their age, set those foundations, that relationship rule off really nice and early, because we're so eager a lot of the times to get our dogs out and about. And as I said, that's where you fall into that trap. You open the door, you're letting them, run up to people, sniff everything, and they're getting all of these external rewards. So everything is away from you. And quite often, what happens is we fall into the trap when we get our dogs to come back. They see it, as I was saying before, we're the party poopers, we're the hindrance, we get in the way, and, for them, it's not very cool at all. So hopefully this is starting to make sense why I start talking about, or I refer to it as dating and dogs. I've certainly used these types of analogies in workplaces as well. So when I've gone into people's workplaces and you talk about expectation of your, your colleagues and things like that, it's all based on communication and making sure that it's nice and clear on what your expectations are. So making sure you're nice and engaging for your dog to come back. You certainly want to have a look at the value system that you have. Dogs will always find value in something. So you're either going to get the value from running around with their playmate. They might find value. I know Zuka particularly has a thing for duck poo. If there's one piece of duck poo in the middle of the oval, he'll find it, he'll roll it and have a blast of a time. So whether it's other people, other dogs, regardless of what it is, a lot of dogs find rabbit poo really enticing. You want to make sure that your dog sees value in you and that you have a higher value than what your dog is currently engaging in. Because if we looked at it from a mathematical point of view, if you would, from a reward system, if your dog finds, eating rabbit poo, let's say, and they score that, say, a 7 out of 10, so it's a pretty high reward. If you want your dog to come back and start engaging with you, hey, Gary, I've just seen you there. How are you, Dal? If your dog starts seeing or scores rabbit poo, eating rabbit poo, that type of thing, about a 7 out of 10, if you're wanting to get your dog back with you, you need to make sure you're at least coming in at a level 7 or above to exceed his expectations. Anything below that, he's going to think that you're a bit stingy and you've shortchanged him. Okay, so always sit there, have a look at what your dog's reward value is. Don't fall into the headspace of that what your dog finds rewarding. Your dog is the one that's going to sit there and decipher what they see and seek as a value as well. You can try different foods. Some dogs will prefer. Dropped out a little bit. Hopefully you're still there. I was just talking about your reward systems, making sure the value's there for your dog, so they can always see a point for coming back. I know that if Zuka's out having fun and whatnot, particularly in the early stages of his training, where we're teaching this aspect of our relationship and the engagement, the coolest thing for him in his world was the ball. So, if I was to ever recall him from something that was highly destructive and awesome fun for him, the moment he came back, and it's always, for us, our expectation is we give one command and we expect the action to be there. So the minute he'd turn around and come straight back, there'd be a game of ball or tug or something along those lines. So hopefully this is making sense to you guys. I've just written down some notes here and some questions. One of the questions is, what is the basis of a good relationship with your dog? And I think obviously everyone's going to have their own expectations of what they see as a good relationship. But I think ultimately it comes down, as I was just saying, that your dog sees value in you. If your dog can see the value in always coming back to you and you're not the nuisance or you're not the thing that's always preventing them from having fun, then that's exactly what we're after. So, guys, hopefully that makes sense. I'll certainly be touching on it over the next few weeks as well. But that's nice and short. I know our last K9TV session went for about an hour and a half. It was certainly a long session, so I'm keeping tonight nice and short for you guys. So thank you very much for joining in and learning a little bit about why I refer to it as dating and dogs. And hopefully you guys are going to start. Nikki, thank you. You're saying it's perfect sense. I've got sweet as from Gary. Just having a look here. Makes complete sense. Beautiful. Hi, Ree. How are you, darling? Joining us from the US. Hello, Nikki. Beautiful. Guys, thank you so much for joining in. Tell me over the next week, what are you going to do to take your dog on an awesome date? So I know with Zuka, a great date for him is when I let him sit there and sniff every gum tree. Where we live, there's a hell of a lot of gum trees. And if he can show me the respect and the courtesy of always walking on a nice loose lead, and when I speak to him, he comes back and engages with me, then I will always sit there and give him that walk, that opportunity to have a sniff as well. So, sit there and let me know what kind of date, do you think your dog is going to want to go on? And, and what your boundaries and your rules are with that as well. So, I can just see some little comments coming up here. Shell, you've joined us. How are you, my friend, in Bali? Loving it, no doubt. Hey, Vic, thanks for joining in. Dallas. You've only just joined in. I was having a bit of a chat to Dallas beforehand, and thank you very much for missing out on The Bachelorette and tuning in and watching Dating with Dogs. Guys, thank you so much for joining in. If you have any questions in regards to how you can start to build and improve on your relationships, just pop some comments down below. You can always shoot us through a post or a message. You can follow me on Facebook as well. So if you type in Kat Saunders, you will see, I'm pretty sure I'm the only girl that has pink hair and a Rottweiler in her in the profile picture. So jump on there, guys, and we'll see you next week, hopefully with another K9TV. Thanks so much, guys. Take care.